Hello and welcome to this British Film Designers Guild Forum, talking about the US TV show Wrecked. And with me today I have Greg Hajdu, construction manager over in Sydney, Nick Dare, art director and production designer in his own right, also in Sydney, and Monica Monserrate Llenza in Puerto Rico, our set deck. So thank you all for joining today from all around the globe. It's quite late at night over in the UK, just so that we could get everyone together in a timely manner. So Wrecked is a US comedy for TBS, and you guys all worked on series 2, didn't you? I joined on series 3, but
Yes.
series 2 was the first one shot in Fiji, and prior to that it was in Puerto Rico, I believe, wasn't it? And I remember when I got the job, and I knew that it was shooting in Fiji, and I knew the DOP. So um, my first thought was that I had to have all of you guys back, because shooting in Fiji, I had heard there was lots of issues on the second season, and I thought there's no point in trying to reinvent the wheel. I really want to work with the people that have done it before. So luckily all you guys were available, and we had pretty much the best art department ever, didn't we? Such a great
Oh yeah.
team, such a great team. And we had our art department was mostly from, I can't, it was mostly Australian construction, wasn't it? An art department. Props are from New Zealand mostly, set deck, Puerto Rico, and few
Australia
Kiwis.
and New Zealand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. um
Yeah.
Nick, just talk about the first season that you did in Fiji, and just how
Or
it came about. Because what made it move from Puerto Rico to Fiji?
I think Monica's probably better for that question. But either way, I was contacted by the production designer of the previous production designer of the production designer of the first season, who was an LA-based production designer, and it was an out of the blue email looking for someone to art direct. And I hadn't done a lot of American television. I don't know if I'd done any at that point, and kind of was keen to step up and do a bit more, and kind of thought, oh, Fiji, how hard can it be? At that point, the film that I was working on, the production designer had been an art director on Castaway. And I remember talking to him, just going, look, I'm leaving this job, but I'm going to go and do this. And he went, oh, Fiji, oh, you've got to bring everything in. And so we found ourselves in Fiji, and an incredible mix of people, primarily American producers and creative team, thrown into a situation where I think they had a format that they were applying to how they budgeted the show, how they worked the show, and it's not that it didn't work, it's just that it felt to me to be very LA centric. The philosophy was, if you need something for a day, then you just hire it from a vendor in LA or someone in the area. But of course, we're in Fiji. There's absolutely nothing there in terms of infrastructure.
Yeah.
The TV shows like Survivor and the reality shows that go there have their own crew and their own world. But to do a proper TV series with proper scripts that have all of the flashbacks and all of the narrative storytelling, there was just no infrastructure for that sort of thing. So it was trial by fire for me, and there was a lot that I wish I had done differently, and a lot that I didn't know going in, and I knew a lot more when I came back out. But that was, I think it was just Monica and I for that second season. Greg wasn't with us then.
Right.
Ultimately, I think that was the driver behind getting Greg there for the season that we did, season 3, because I realised that despite it being television and despite it being, you know, there's that notion, I guess, with television that, you know, you can get day players if you need them. You can just, there's a formula to television, to how to make television. Yeah. It doesn't work in Fiji because you can't just go to the scenic shop. You can't just go to the hardware shop. You've got to think much like you do on a feature, which is you've got to plan a shoot, a big shoot, weeks and weeks out. So I thought if I had the crew that I needed, we'd be best placed to service the needs of a TV show. That, you know, you're coming up with sets once a week. You're saying, well, we need this set. In Fiji, you can't just get a set built. You have to have all of the infrastructure to do that. So that was the driver behind the way we prepped the third season. I think that's
where we really won big, wasn't it? It was just having a fantastic construction shop at our disposal all the time. I mean, it worked absolutely brilliantly.
It definitely made it easier, and it definitely allowed, I think, the showrunners to not compromise too much with the way they were writing. You know, the flashbacks take place all over. Essentially, they're all domestic American stories. So you're forced to look for locations that can pair for somewhere in Arizona, or you're looking for locations that's like a 1980s bank in America. That stuff doesn't exist in.
No.
That stuff doesn't exist in Fiji. So you're ultimately building it if you want to shoot it.
Yeah.
So
yes, logistics. I mean, there's a lot of tricky things to overcome, wasn't it? I think one of the big things for me was just in the planning stages of being able to order materials and, I guess, props and set dressing with a really big time scale, because even if something took 3 or 4 weeks to ship from New Zealand or Australia, it would then be stuck in customs for however long they wanted to keep it there until they decided to release it. So that was a real eye-opener, wasn't it? And we got to a point where we would be ordering stuff from Amazon either in the UK or in the US, and it would get to us quicker than something coming from Australia. It was really bizarre, wasn't it? Very strange.
Yeah, it's a funny little black hole in the ocean in a way and we discovered that on the first season as well, when we would, you want to get a plan printer for the office. Well, there's no company nearby that is going to rent you a plan printer, so you have to buy it. And we ended up buying a printer from New York, and it got there quicker than any printer was ever going to get to us from New Zealand or Australia. It's a funny little spot where you can kind of do nothing but do everything.
Yeah.
But, customs was.
Yes.
That was.
I've got some stories that we can talk about later with getting taxidermy, and that was a really big thing. But I'll go back to the very beginning, for me anyway, which was basically I went out to Fiji. I was offered the job in October, and in November I was on a plane to Fiji via LA to go scouting to look for locations. And I'd had the scripts by then, and it was basically, the premise was that all of the cast had been marooned on this they'd escaped their first island, they'd found this other island, they thought they'd managed to get back to civilization, but the island was owned by this billionaire crazy kind of hunter, I guess, and he used to bring in people from around the world and hunt them in this kind of crazy Hunger Games scenario, and all of the team kind of ended up in this spot where they ended up being taken prisoner, and it was all kind of set around Declan's mansion. And so we looked at loads and loads of big houses in Fiji, and none of them were quite right, and they were all being lived in by people. And we were staying at this fabulous resort, the Marriott Momi Bay, and the location manager said, oh well, they've got this old golf clubhouse that they started building and never completed it, and it's on the grounds, but it's it's nowhere near the hotel. So we went out and looked at that, and it was absolutely amazing. I was there with the writers and the producer, and when I walked in, I just thought, we've got to make this work, because it's kind of, we could do so much here. It's almost like a studio, really. It was just this big empty shell of a building, and I thought, well, we can build Declan's mansion, and then on the ground floor, so there was 3 floors. The ground floor, there was just loads of kind of empty shell rooms, and I thought that they could have been bedrooms and corridors and things like that. And downstairs was a basement, which was where they would have parked up all the golf buggies, and it was just this huge empty kind of large scale, like the footprint of the whole building, just a concrete basement, no windows. So I mean, it was very much like a studio. The head height was, it was only, I think it was about 3 meters or something. And it was again, seemed absolutely ideal. We could just build loads of stuff there. But I'm just going to share the screen, because this see that. This is basically what we were presented with when we arrived on our recce, and this is the golf clubhouse that was never quite complete. So some of the window frames are in, but there was no glass. Well, in fact, there was some glass, but it's all been smashed. And it was basically being the local goats had moved in and lived in it for 10 years, and so there was just kind of like 3 or 4 inches of, I don't know what you'd call it.
Well, I think you'd call it goat crap.
Waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the face of it, it looked like it was a crazy prospect, but actually, it turned out to be absolutely brilliant for us. I'm just going to, oh, sorry. So that was the outside of it, and it was really quite dilapidated and needed a lot of work doing to it. And obviously we couldn't afford to do a structural rebuild, so it was all kind of temporary measures, but it was kind of a blank canvas, and I was really excited by it. I thought it's a great thing to try and use. And actually, more importantly, was the fact that it was on the site of the hotel, and they had these huge grounds, because basically there was a golf course that was going to be built and never was, and now it was like a jungle. Everything had grown up, and we needed quite a lot of jungle scenes as well. So just everything kind of fell into place. It felt like we could do almost everything on site, which was tremendous for not having to have unit moves and things like that. So everyone was kind of very much on board with that, because we just literally found everything within the hotel pretty much, which was excellent. This is after it was cleared up. This is like day 1 of getting there, really. Grego there.
Greg, Timmy and Rory.
Yeah. Surveying the damage.
Geez, what did you think, Grego, when you got there the first time?
I felt like it was all doable, really. I thought as long as we had the support and could set up a bit of infrastructure, I thought we were okay. I thought it was fun. I thought, like Jono, I thought here's a blank canvas. And I think the most important thing is support from production, really, in a situation like that. And that's, by and large, that's what we got.
And practically, we worked out between us quite early on, didn't we, what we thought we would need to bring, and we kind of loaded up 2 or 3 shipping containers with materials, didn't we? Things that we knew that we wouldn't get here. And also, you bought quite a lot of timber with, just because we knew that it would be of a decent quality.
That's right, Luan ply and yeah, 3x1, like proper 70 by 19 dressed, 42 by 19 dressed, all that sort of stuff, which we knew might be a bit tricky. However, I would say by the end of it, when we'd pretty much run out and were sort of sick of waiting on containers, we just made it work with whatever we could find. Once we developed our sort of local contacts, if you like, and they started getting on board.
Yeah. Giving us the stuff
we
just
made it work. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first timber delivery. I remember you calling me out saying, come and look at this, and it was on this truck, wasn't it? And it was just like somebody had ripped down an old shed and put it onto the back of a truck, and that was what they'd sent us.
Oh, yeah.
The locals needed a little bit of educating as to what we would accept.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we did get there in the end, didn't we? It was good.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think just everything being on site was a great thing for us. This is our lovely little art department office.
Oh, look how idealistic we all are.
I know, yeah, look, we all look so young, don't we?
Yeah.
And this, I thought I'd throw this in, because just basically all the crew stayed in the resort, and it was the most remarkable thing, really. And most of us got to stay in these bures, luxury cabin all to yourself, and just a few minutes stroll along the promenade until you get to the office, which was one of the boardrooms in the hotel.
3.5 months of living like that.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty amazing, really. This is our little porch, and I thought I'd throw one of your lovely drawings in, Nick.
Oh, look at that! Oh, I think that's a Prue drawing. That's,
is that one of Prue's?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's that's the balcony scene.
That was the finished product. And we
all that CNC work.
Yeah.
I remember Greg and I driving around looking at talking to CNC operators. You know, they of course if you dig deep enough, they've got the stuff laying around, but no one seems to know how to use it properly.
Yeah.
But Greg had found, after a while, a couple of different CNC operators so that we could, ultimately not get ripped off, I guess, is one thing. But I know it was funny, those balcony handrails, because, in Australia, I guess we would ordinarily just go, oh, we'll CNC cut that out of MDF or something. It's just a base. It's going to last a few weeks. We don't need to worry about it so much. I remember Greg finding this high-density plastic that was, 3/4 of an inch thick. And he's going,
well, it was quite fortuitous, though, wasn't it?
It was very fortuitous, but it was like,
a lot of rain.
This plastic that we have, I guess, one of the memories from the first season that was etched in my mind is the designer going, well, we're going to wallpaper all of these sets. And you think, oh, well, wallpaper, that's fair enough, until you realise you can't find wallpaper paste anywhere in Fiji, because they're just not into it. They're not using it. The wallpaper peels off the wall. It's not a big thing. Mm-hmm. And so we were kind of, I guess for the second season, we were primed for that fairly well. And then, in true Fiji form, 12 months later, Sadie, who was our coordinator at the time, sends me a photo from a shop that she's found in Fiji that's selling wallpaper paste. Just in a far-flung town, there's a hardware shop selling wallpaper paste. You just go, oh my God, what all of the things we went through.
I didn't realise you actually found it there, but you had to ship it in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Excellent.
Monica, you remember that first season with the wallpaper?
What's that?
You remember that first season with the wallpaper?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember it was all the cabins of that set, all the boat inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is like, it was crazy because it was also not the normal one. It's like the one that has the natural fiber. and it's more difficult to even work with it. Yeah, I mean, to me, the second season, that was the first one in Fiji, to me was like a sort of a school to do the third one. Because then I would say, you know, before going over there, I have to go somewhere else to get all that we need. Because it's impossible, you know. There's a few things there that you can use to complement what you need. Certainly, some of our style did work for Fiji. But, you know, in general, all the antiques, everything that we needed for the house, we had to source elsewhere. And knowing that before getting there, it was great, because then you can say to the producer, listen, this has to happen before I get there, or I have nothing really to work with. So that really worked out really well.
So did you went scouting in New Zealand first, didn't you, in pre-production?
I went to LA for a week, for the taxidermy and a few other bits that we needed, like that rubber barbed wire and kind of some stuff, special stuff like that. And then I went to Auckland, New Zealand, and also I think it was also a week, if I'm not, and then we packed some containers really fast, and I searched a lot in the stores there with the local buyer, and just sort of did a big part of the research, so I would know what is available afterwards, and she would be able to send the stuff if we really needed it. But at first we did like this one big purchase, and you know, got all the little bits that we really needed, like just special bulbs and tools, expendables for the guys to be able to dress and all of that. It was really helpful.
Yeah.
You know, to that.
And how many people did you have on your team, Monica? And because I know you had a few local people as well, didn't you?
Yes, we had. We had 2 Australian set dressers that were great, and they had worked with us. Ben had worked with us in the second season, and also there was it was weird because we had some guys that were in the second season that didn't come back. The local ones. For personal reasons, it was not that they didn't, you know, do the job or anything. And then there was 2 new additions. We were from New Zealand. It's a woman, Jill, and also Ben, another Ben. And they were great. We did have one of the Fijian guys that actually was really good. He is very used to work in boats, so he would take instructions really well. He was really smart, and you know, I think he would be a great set dresser probably in the future. You know.
And how did you find working with people from different countries? And you know, obviously people have different ideas about what things should look like, and you know, sometimes there's a cultural difference, or not so much a language difference, but you know, you're working with some of your dressers are from Puerto Rico, and as some are from Australia. And how did you find that scenario?
I think it's it was really interesting, you know, like there was really, really different characters, and as sort of the leader of them, we just learned how to take advantage of that and put them where they would really be comfortable and where they would be doing something that they really liked, or, you know, like some of the guys like more to weld or build, or, you know, it's just a little bit of getting to know the person really fast, so you can actually put them to work in your, you know, in your favor. So it was actually a lot of fun, you know, also to have to get to know people that from the other side of the world for us, you know, like because there was Luis and Omar also from Puerto Rico, and it's the first time for all of us in the other side of the world, getting to know the culture and, as Caribbean, very fiery characters, we would find ourselves like trying to go like really fast, or, applying the film industry energy, that you want to do everything fast and you need to and Fijians will go like, no. You need to slow down, take it easy. So
have some
that took a whole season to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, having worked with all these people from all around the world, it was, as a group, everyone got on so well and did such an amazing job. I think it was one of those kind of really special jobs where everyone just clicked, and it was just a really fabulous atmosphere, wasn't it? I think partly due to the fact that we all stayed in this amazing resort together, but it was almost wasn't like a job, really, was it? Everyone had such a great time.
Yeah, that was. I think that was a huge part of it, because, as Monica says, that you have an instinct to go hard when you're at work, and just, you're so used to working to a deadline and delegating a task to someone and having it done.
Yeah.
And Fiji will find a way around that. And I remember, for instance, there was a 3-week period where we were trying to get the windows of that golf club closed.
Yes.
And I remember, Jono, you constantly going, so have you heard from the glass people? And admittedly, in the end, we had to find other glass people. But the first season had taught me that if you call one day and say, I'd like some glass for a window, and then call the second day expecting them to have either started the order, or at least
give you a quote, at least,
or started the process, or thought about when someone's coming to measure or whatever, then you're going to be deeply disappointed, because none of that's happening. Admittedly, with that crowd, 3 weeks in, we were saying, so where are these windows? You were supposed to install them 2 days ago. And they were sending us photographs of someone else's window frames. But Fiji has a way of slowing you down. And I mean, the weekends were fantastic. I guess it
was like being really every weekend, wasn't it?
Well, we got along so well because we definitely needed each other for the work. But then on the weekends, we would just have the greatest kind of social time, and it made for a really good, almost family dynamic where, you're relying on people during the week, and they become a family in a way. And I think that was. I keep looking for jobs that have the same thing, and I don't think we'll ever. That job was lightning in a bottle in a way. I
think so. Yeah. I'm not sure I'll ever work on a job like it again. But, and Grego, how many people did you have in construction, and how many were your crew, and how many were locals? Can you remember?
I think we got maybe till between 20 and 30. It was a bit fluid. So as we'd get a block of episodes that would require more crew, we'd generally, bring in the skilled labour from Australia.
Or London.
But and the UK, you're right.
Yeah.
We did.
Stevie, the plasterer.
We stole the head plasterer off Game of Thrones. That was our claim to fame. Who was looking very pasty after spending 6 months in Belfast. He was ready to hit a Fijian summer, autumn. We found that we ended up with quite a good local crew, but we'd probably go through, say, 10 people to find one good one. And we just gradually whittled that down. By the time we finished, we had really quite a good crew. And, as Nick said, everyone was like a family, and not just with the imported people, but with the locals as well. You know, the locals are a very emotional race of people, and they really like to connect with you, and that's exactly what happened. So, you know,
it was a special mix of people, wasn't it?
Yeah. By the time we finished, you know, it was hard saying goodbye.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Yeah.
And looking back at that image, John, of when we first started, when Tim and I and Rory are standing in the clubhouse. I mean, that was hot. We got there probably at the height of the Fijian summer.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'd all come from summer, so it wasn't, you know, Sydney summer's pretty hot.
Yeah.
But over there, it was on a whole different level. I mean, literally, if you walked 5 meters, you would be sweating.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so humid, wasn't it? It was like 99% humidity most days.
Yeah, and I remember, like, it took a few weeks for my crew to adjust to that, like to just bed in, if you like. And
there's a picture of your guys at work.
Yeah, thinking back to you're looking at the Boo-rays. It was so humid that if you didn't leave your air conditioning on during the day,
I remember that. Yeah, the floor would get wet,
water all over your floor. Yeah. It was like someone had left a tap on or something, and it was incredibly humid. And it was really, for everyone, it took a few weeks, I think, to adjust to that. So, and the Fijians, of course, were fine, and they kind of, in those early days, they sort of pulled us through, I think, because they were 100% fine.
Oh, well, I'm going to show, this is a visual that our fantastic graphic designer Ken Min Lau did for us. This is a visual of Declan's mansion. I gave him a very basic SketchUp model visual, and this is what he came back with, which was really rather spectacular. And another great find by you, Nick. Ken was brilliant.
Ken is brilliant. He, again, you know, another lesson from season 1 about having staff who I think are really multi-skilled and able to, you know, obviously Ken was the graphic designer, but he can dabble in concept art, but he's fine on the tools as well.
Yeah.
And I think that was an important thing for me, was that you had to have people who were prepared to scrap it out a bit with their own role. One of the things I'd found, and I know Monica and I probably talked about this on the first series, was that in the first season we did in Fiji, there was an incredibly demarcated approach to how each person's role worked. So, you know, there was an expectation that, well, your art director is very much a drafting art director and the rest of it will fall into place. I remember needing to do action vehicles for the first season. And in the US, the action vehicles are done by the transport department, which is, you know, I guess to Australians and Kiwis, and maybe I'm assuming in the UK, is a baffling scenario, because you want, the car is about the look. You know, what's under the hood doesn't necessarily matter as much as what the car looks like. And we kind of went looking for a car, but then I was told, well, no, that is not your job.
Yes.
You know, the art department goes nowhere near it. I mean, we might age it up on set. And so I found that a difficult thing to reconcile. And I think once I realized, you know, certainly, you know, Aussies and Kiwis and Puerto Ricans tend to be pretty handy across the board. There's no demarcation that you know we stick to that much. Yeah, just if we played our natural game, we were fine. You know, if we followed our instincts and did what had to be done, we got it done. And I think that was a big success for the second season. Ken was a perfect example of that. You know, Ken He does great work, and he can do a number of different things. And he came up with so much concept art by the end. Why would you have concept art on a little American half-hour comedy? But we had him, and he
had the time and the resources.
Well, we needed to sell ideas.
We did.
We also needed to convince the showrunners and the producers that we could deliver what we were saying we could deliver.
Yeah, it got to the point where they were kind of almost in disbelief when they would talk about things, and we would just say, "Yeah, we'll build that. That's no problem." And they kind of weren't used to that kind of can-do attitude in a way, were they? I remember them being really amazed that whatever they would ask for, we would just go ahead and do it without any question. And I think that was also having that backup of on-site construction, with plasterers, welders, scenics. We had the whole workshop at our disposal. We had the space, and we really could do anything. So it was fantastically rewarding creatively in that respect. And I think also, on paper as well, it was a really tricky job, because it's an American production run by an American network, kind of in the normal American setup, which is kind of what you're alluding to with the demarcation and people having their set roles. But most of the crew was probably 40% Australian, 40% New Zealand, and a few other people from around the world, really, wasn't there? Puerto Rico, there was a few Brits, and it was a real melting pot, wasn't it? And trying to kind of get people who work in different ways all working under one umbrella was a little bit tricky, but we found our feet really quickly, didn't we? And I think in the end, it was just a joy to work on, really. It was one of the nicest jobs I've worked on.
Yeah.
I'll have a quick flick through some of these pictures because time's getting on. So that was Ken's visual. That is how it ended up. A lot of that down to your spectacular work, Monica. So if you want to comment on any of that, that we could talk for hours about taxidermy. I mean, that was our biggest thing, wasn't it? It was because in Fiji you're not allowed to import real animals, live or dead, and so all of our taxidermy had to be fake, and most of that came from America, if I'm right in thinking that.
Yes, yeah.
And I know the elephant. My God, in my head I'd always had an elephant head on the wall because it was just such a ridiculous kind of gross hunting trophy to put up. And I remember finding one online that looked amazing. It was really realistic. And God, I mean, to cut a very long story short, it took probably 4 or 5 weeks to get to us, and we had to have it dismantled because it was too big to go on a plane. And I think it was driven across
through
America,
the States, yeah.
And then it got caught in a snowstorm in New York and got delayed. And then it flew. Where would it have flown to? It would have flown from America to.
I think it went through it. It went through land and all the way to LA probably, and then from there.
And then it would have gone air freight Fiji. From LA to Fiji.
Yes.
So and we got it 2 days or a day before we shot it.
Yeah.
I think it arrived the day before, didn't it? And then we had to reassemble it because originally they'd crated it up, and the courier company arrived and said, well, it's too big to go on a plane, so they didn't take it. So then and the shipping was going to be like $50,000 or something. So then I thought, okay, well then we've got to make it smaller. So can they cut the ears off, cut the trunk off, cut the tusks off, put them either in a separate crate or in the same crate, make the crate smaller, which is basically what they did, I think, in the end.
Yeah, it was also really well done because the company was a museum reproduction company. Right. So at first they were like, oh no, how am I going to cut this? But they did a beautiful job.
They did, yeah. Yeah, that was kind of the ongoing problem that we dealt with for most of pre-production, wasn't it? It's trying to get the elephant.
Yes.
And there were so many false starts. We thought we'd got it, and then there were so many roadblocks, literal roadblocks. Yeah. But yeah, we got it with a day to go. But I thought your set dressing was absolutely immaculate in Declan's mansion. So this was a kind of before and after, just to give you a comparison of what we started with and what we finished up with, which I think, everyone did such an amazing job. It was brilliant. That's another before and after.
Yeah. No, Monica did an amazing job considering.
Yeah. Considering there was nothing there. And
well, you remember Monica kind of coming back from places that there were some high-end furniture manufacturers in Fiji.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd look at their catalogue and you'd go, okay, well, maybe one or two of those pieces, like any store that you shop in, one or two of those pieces might work, but not the whole catalogue. But yeah, Monica did an amazing job given.
Yeah. It was tricky because you also had to in the beginning of the job when I hadn't even met Jonathan in person or we haven't really started, then be in New Zealand just going okay, I'm gonna probably need this and that, and just doing a collection of really beautiful pieces, and then going to Fiji and making what they have work, and it was a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite props. The Canoeing Chipmunk.
Yeah.
Which became our little art department mascot until its face got chewed off by a rat.
He had a double, so it was fine.
There's a little action shot. I think all the taxidermy arrived on the same day, didn't it?
There was two big chipmunks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of them arrived at the same time, and it was exciting because we've been working so hard getting that collection together.
Yeah.
Of not real, but that it looked real. It was difficult.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I mean, it was a tremendous effort to round up that amount of stuff.
That's Ty. That's our Fijian set dresser. He's brilliant.
He was great. Really. Yeah, I love that photo. In fact, it's not my favourite photo of you. That is my favourite photo.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is the bank that we built. So we basically, every episode there was some sort of set build, and we obviously didn't have a studio, but we used one of their conference rooms as a studio, really, didn't we? Just apart from anything else, the carpet kind of worked. So I think all that wallpaper came from England, didn't it? I seem to remember getting some wallpaper from the UK sent over. And we had a few little set builds. This was an American bank manager's office in the 70s/80s. It was a flashback. So that was fun to do. And this was a corridor in the mansion. I think this corridor, I don't know, there's something about it it just worked out really well. I was really happy with that.
The monkey wallpaper.
Maybe it was the monkey wallpaper. But everything just worked, the drapes and the colours. It was just, it was lovely.
You don't have a before photo of that corridor?
I don't, unfortunately. But
I'm looking at these photos. and just looking at just how much work
Yeah.
Greg did in construction.
Yeah.
Look at it. They were concrete walls or bare plaster walls or something.
Yeah, it was unfinished. And then just around the corner where that table is, there was literally an open lift shaft that was about 30 feet deep.
Yeah.
So had to block that in. Well, and there was no window, there was no glass in the windows on the right, so you could have fallen.
You were 2 stories up.
Two stories up. Yeah, I remember, because it was like a 2-minute drive from our office, but I remember daily going down there. When I say daily, not daily the line producer, every day going down and just seeing the progress and just thinking, the chippies were just astonishing. Everyone worked so well. I was really so impressed. This was Declan's mansion. So again, it was just an empty area, and we literally built everything here, didn't we?
Yeah.
All the paneling, all the molding. Where did the moldings come from in the end?
I got the moldings from New Zealand.
Right.
So New Zealand is, the supply lines to Fiji are set up better from New Zealand than they are from Australia by, something that might take, say, 3 or 4 weeks from New Zealand could take 6 weeks from Australia, I think. It's, somehow they have a different relationship, the Fijians, with New Zealand than with Australia, even though they're probably not that much further away.
Yeah.
But things work a little bit better from New Zealand if you need to do things in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we got to the point where we knew that what kind of timeline we had to get things from different countries, and I feel like we were never really up against it. It was always a little bit nerve-wracking, wondering whether you'd ever actually see it, but we always seemed to get it in time, didn't we?
In the nick of time.
In the nick of time. And then, talking of plaster from Game of Thrones, here he is.
Oh, there he is, Stevie.
There he is, Stevie Court, holding court. This is our cave set. So there was a cave scripted in one of the episodes. I remember actually scouting a cave in Fiji, and it was very small and just was not practical to film in for lots of health and safety reasons. And so I just suggested that we build a cave in the basement, which is what we did with Nick's amazing CAD work.
Oh, that set came together in about a week, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or it was we were designing it. We had a couple of days to design it, and then we segmented all of the model to pull the CNC profile, and just the turnaround time between realizing that we weren't going to get a cave that we could shoot in. Obviously the producer didn't want to do a unit move, so I think the nearest cave was a 40-minute drive away, and
there was nothing nearby. That was the problem, really.
There was certainly nothing nearby, and so we just, at some point, I think Greg kind of went, we could just build it. That's how it's going to end up, isn't it? We're just going to end up building it, and I think we pretty quickly we must have had some rock molds there, or you got rock molds out of Australia.
I think I air freighted out of Australia.
Yeah. I remember that.
And set up the plastering, and away we went. We just had, Johnny did a little paper model, plasticine model, and
that's right, I did. Plasticine. Yeah. We got some plasticine locally, and I made a little model.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
I remember making the elephant's head out of blue tack, just to kind of to scale it to see whether it would fit into a crate or not. That was quite fun.
We didn't have much time on that one, and there's no chance of finding casting plaster in Fiji.
No, that's right. All that had to be shipped in as well, didn't it?
So we had to fly that out, I think we flew out 2 or 3 pallets of casting plaster and some scrim. And I remember it cost 5 times as much of the value of the product to get it onto a plane.
Yes.
And get freight it to Fiji, but it was worth it.
Yeah. It really was. And then we also we used the same sheets to make a crevasse, because there was a crevasse scripted.
Oh yes.
That Steve falls down, Rhys Darby falls down into a crevasse, and they wanted to do a kind of mock-up of what was it called? I can't remember. But it was that anyway. It was that idea that he was stuck, his arm was stuck, wedged in a crevasse. He'd fallen off a cliff, so we had quite a big cliff top stunt to shoot as well, which we did on location, and we kind of cut between stuntman falling off a small cliff to a wide shot of a big cliff, and then this crevasse.
That was one of our most successful builds, I think.
It was great. Yeah.
Is it 127 hours, maybe?
Yes.
That's it, yeah. There you go.
Yes, it was 127 hours.
120.
That's how long we had to build it too.
Yeah, exactly. And we ended up shooting this in the construction workshop, which was actually the what was it? It was the kind of garden maintenance shed that the hotel used.
Yes, yeah. Well, that was
it was a studio.
That was the great thing about that location. You know, working in the Marriott in Momi Bay, and all of the infrastructure, because of the way they seem to do things in Fiji, they had built so much infrastructure to build the resort, and then once the resort was operating, there was all this stuff just laying in the jungle.
Yeah.
And that was the whole. If we didn't have that, oh God, what would we have done?
I don't
remember walking through the golf course that had apparently at some point been so close to opening that you could putt off the greens, and it was like Jurassic Park. You would walk through the jungle. You would have to hack your way through.
Yeah.
And there was a maintenance shed that we found for the first season we were there, and built all these massive sets in there. And when we went back for the second season, when someone said, "Oh, there's a shed, at the end of the road," I'm like, "Oh, wow, we're sorted now because we've got somewhere to do things. We've got a shed that is big enough to put a construction department in and put
it was perfect
set decorating in, and they can store things and they can work, and they're out of the direct sunlight. They're things that we didn't necessarily have first time around. So that was fantastic.
Yeah. And this is probably part of the golf course, wasn't it? This is where we
that's the cage.
Build the pen. So this is kind of us mapping it out, and that was construction starting. Did some earthworks and buried some pylons, and then we did some steel work. Flew in a welder, got the plasters to work again, and this is how it ended up. That was quite a big construction. And then so the other thing that we had to deal with, apart from all of the other logistics, was being stuck in a middle of a hurricane and or a typhoon in that part of the world. And all of this, we only lost a little bit of paint, didn't we? Apart from there was a lot of sail diffusers over the top. They all got ruined. But so we stopped filming for 2 or 3 days, didn't we, because of the cyclone?
And because some of the crew were caught on far-flung islands.
Yeah.
From the weekend.
Who would go?
But actually, Jono, you should include a link. You can still see the pen on Google Maps, on Google Earth.
Oh, I might try and edit that in. Yeah. I saw it recently, actually. I think because you mentioned it. It's been left up, hasn't it?
Well, it has, and then that stuff, I guess, it held up so well considering it went through a Category 2 cyclone.
Yeah.
Well, this was another maintenance shed that we converted.
Yes, it was. It was like a little boiler house or something, or a pump.
Yeah,
it was a pump.
A pumping station.
Yeah, that would have had a kind of water feature in it, part of the golf course, and it turned it into a power station exterior.
Yeah.
And then this was also in the basement. We had to build a little surveillance room.
Mm-hmm.
This was kind of the other end of the room to the cave. So yeah, it all worked out really well. I mean, the whole location was fantastic. And this was day 1 of our shoot, wasn't it, on the beach?
Oh yes.
With the jet ski exploding.
Yeah.
Day 1.
Yeah.
Greg on his phone.
Yeah. Day 1, jet ski explodes.
Oh, there we go. I thought I'd throw this in just because, apart from the cyclone, there was also a water spout one day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the weather was quite dramatic. Well, this was the cliff top, wasn't it? We had to do a little bit of leveling of the terrain and dressing in some greens. We did our stunt of falling off the cliff. Oh, I had to throw that in because that was a typical magical end of the day, strolling back from our art department office back to the bure, or a drink at the fish bar. Yeah, it was pretty magical. I mean, to have that at your disposal every weekend, it was something else, wasn't it? Like being on holiday every week.
Certainly made a lot of it easier.
I must just show you this. Got to throw this in there. Construction's finest hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was our floating rum bar for the
wrap party.
It was for the wrap party. They had a kind of a boat race, and every department had to build their own raft. Obviously, we had a bit of an
Cinco de Mayo, was that?
You what? Sorry.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo. That's right.
Cinco de Mayo.
It wasn't even the wrap party.
Yeah.
It's getting close though.
Yeah, there was always something going on every weekend. But yes, so we had a raft race in the lagoon at the hotel.
Yeah. Oh, wasn't that miraculous? I kind of remember roughly that day that Greg kind of went, well, we found some polystyrene. We found sheets of polystyrene, and I don't know, was it quite expensive, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, compared to where we are, yes. Yeah, it was expensive.
But the miraculous kind of idea that, well, we found polystyrene to make a raft from.
Yeah.
Was extraordinary.
It was. I also remember Greg saying, look, we haven't got time to build this. We've got work to do. And it kind of got put off, and we had all these grand ideas and nobody did anything. And then literally on the day of the events, it was like, oh, okay, come on then.
Yeah.
Everyone piled in and did a little bit of work on it.
Yeah. And that thing I remember standing out in the lagoon on that thing, and there were 20 people on there. I've seen a photograph of that thing just kind of drifting away from the shore into the sunset. It's silhouetted, and there are 20 people standing on it.
I'm going to look at that. I'm pretty sure I've seen that photo.
Yeah.
Just through my...
It was extraordinarily buoyant. It just seemed to... it was great. It was just... I couldn't believe that something like that could be knocked up in just a day.
I know. I mean, it
was really just the end of the day, actually.
It was, yeah. It was a few hours.
Yeah.
I did the last couple of hours in the day. Yeah, we all got onto it, and that was it.
Yeah.
You did win, right?
We won until we were cheated out of our win.
Mm.
Might have been some sabotage from the accounts department.
Wow.
Okay, I must share this because I've found the picture.
Oh yeah, there it is.
And the Grips built that platform, didn't they? That scaffold platform.
Yeah.
For people to dive off of.
Yeah.
Fun times. I mean, it really was an amazing job, wasn't it? I feel very lucky to have been part of that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show the trailer just so that people can understand what we've been talking about. And TBS have given me permission to play this. It's on their YouTube channel.
Can we not catch one break? I know we're all a bit freaked out, but we gotta remember that we all survived this long together. It's like the end of one of those Fast and Furious movies where they came out of it together because they are family. It could have been just one rogue landmine washed up on shore. Can we not catch one break?
There's only 9 of us left now. Every man counts.
It's all good, just be calm.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Declan Stanwyck. Do you people need any help? This is my private island.
I shall arrange for your rescue.
Oh man, is that mahogany?
What is this place?
I wish to speak with your leader, him.
You think that Steve is the leader?
Why is that so hard to believe?
Because you've got your pants on backwards?
What? Oh, no, not again.
You see, it's every man for himself already.
That'll help when you're hunting each other to the death.
August 7th.
We're gonna have to hunt each other like Hunger Games. We're not even gonna get cool outfits from Lenny Kravitz.
How far will they go?
You don't think anyone's gonna turn on each other, do you?
No, they won't.
You're dead!
How far will they go?
I'll go for her eyes, you aim for... Good luck! Damn it!
How far will they go?
I've seen every action movie ever made.
If we want to survive, we need to come up with a plan.
Did I just imagine I had that?
Wrecked premieres August 7th. Binge the first 2 seasons on the TBS app right now.
Lots of fun.
My God, we did a lot of work, didn't
I was
we?
just, I was just going to say it's pretty action-packed for a little 30-minute comedy, and it was a lot going on. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking almost an hour and a half, so I guess I should let you guys all go. But thank you so much for joining me. It's really, really lovely to see all your smiling faces again, and we've all stayed in touch quite a lot, haven't we? It's been great. It's been a few years since we did this, but we've still got our art department WhatsApp group buzzing away.
Yeah.
So it's been lovely.
No, it definitely was a
it was
a dream job, absolutely dream job. And hoping for Wrecked season 4 at some point. Any news on that? No. Okay. All right. You'll have to get a job out here, Jono, and fly Monica out.
I know. Got to do it.